4 o'clock. And just want to welcome all of you who are here to hear us or be part of the presentations. And first item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all that's in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. The next on our agenda is old business. And the first item is the request of Bobby Harris of Oxwood Lane LLC to construct an addition and new storage building at 2627 Old Forest Road. Is there someone here to speak to that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, if you would come forward and tell us your name, address, have a seat, be comfortable at the table.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And you tell us your name and address and the nature of this request.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Bobby Harris. I'm the owner of 2627 Old Forest Road, where we operate, meanwhile, back on the farm. So, bag company. We just finished a pretty extensive renovation there at the house, which Jameson Lewis was involved in. And we are looking for a little bit more space. So we are proposing that we'd like to add a matching existing wing like the one that we dismantled and rebuilt. In that process, the third and final chimney would obviously get some repairs and work to it like we did the other two. But it is, for the most part, an exact mate of the wing that we just finished. As far as the storage building, we wanted to do something that would complement the structure, similar materials, hardy siding, things of that nature. That's obviously depicting a metal roof. I would love to put out into the discussion about a shingle roof, because we have a black shingle roof that on the cabin that was there, the log cabin that's there. So the only thing that I would like that's not exactly like that, would put that on the table to see if that would be agreeable. But love to hear your thoughts and comments and concerns.
Okay, thank you.
Refresh my memory, the cabin, it's an asphalt shingle, or what type of
It's
shingle?
an asphalt shingle roof on that cabin.
And that's the structure that's close to the driveway, is that right?
It is, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's a stone cabin?
It's a log cabin.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if it's 100% factual, but I don't think that those are the original logs. I've had a good friend of mine that's pretty into it, and he feels like those are not period correct logs. So at some point, you can kind of see that cabin in the far left corner of that picture right there. But we certainly polished that up and gave it a lot more life through that renovation process.
Sure.
That was in really bad shape.
Questions, comments? Emmett?
My only anxiety is that it's pushed right up to the front wall of the main two-story piece. If you look at the one on,
The overhead one?
you go to the plan, the plan, the one on the left at the bottom that you all rebuilt, it's set back from the main body
Uh-huh.
of the house, and that's the big two-story piece read. It's the big historic original home.
Uh-huh.
It makes that a little subservient to it.
You talking about just like a little setback off the corner?
Yeah, I'd love to see that pulled as far as you could stomach back
Right.
away from that front corner to let that little one-story piece die into the big two-story component in the middle.
Right.
It just seemed to.
Well, architecturally, what would that setback you know, how would you feel, what, 12, 16
Looks like
inches?
About 7 feet on them.
I mean, best case scenario, it would match the one on the other side,
But, yeah,
which is, like I said, is 5 to 7 feet.
yeah, there's a window on that
Yeah.
return,
Yeah.
so right there, so.
Yeah, so they pull back away from that window. Yeah, maybe it doesn't have to come, because if you come back that far, you're gonna start to engage the chimney.
Right,
So
and obviously our, you know, main concern is the loss of square footage.
Yeah, exactly. So, 2 feet or so at least to try to give that main body more presence.
Uh-huh,
And if it's hard to see in the elevation because they're flat. Can you
Yeah,
flip
and you
those,
got the-
Eve?
you got the eave of the roof kind
Yeah,
of
it kind of,
blocking the view.
you don't really perceive it when it's flat like that. But if you look at the end view, if that could pull in so that main 2-story body had more of a presence, I think that the barn I'm fine with. I think the barn would look lovely with the tin roof, but I mean, I don't.
Well, and we could, you know, drop back to, obviously, our concerns right now, I've already had all this out to bid, and, you know, we did a true standing seam roof on the addition of and the quote on the barn was about $60,000 for the, you know, a roll hem standing seam roof for the barn, so.
I don't, it matching the cabin, it's
I'm with you.
I don't think we could say you must.
Yeah.
Well, the colors, at least, you know, as you pan across it, all the colors are the same, you know, so we didn't, I think it would blend in well.
So this, Madam Chairman, that's my 2 cents
Okay,
into that.
all right. Anybody else? Comments, questions? Is there a motion?
I mean, I guess, well, this makes sense if the one wing is recessed back, the other wing kind of recessed back, to kind of just mimic it, so it looks like it's always been there.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a must, but it's just more a suggestion more than anything.
Well, this, if you're looking at the not the true front of the house, the addition on the backside where everybody actually enters the structure, the addition is flush all the way across on that side. And that's how it was
Yeah.
when we got it, but we had to dismantle that addition and rebuild it.
Yeah, and that back wall staying flush makes sense.
And that matches, yeah.
Mhm.
So you have to, if you brought it back, this new addition, you have to lose square footage, you couldn't keep it extended in the back,
I think you
Well,
want to keep the back wall
flush,
aligned.
in line, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Keeping it flush, yeah.
Yeah, either way, I mean, if you're, we don't have a set amount of square footage that we're chasing, it's just.
Maximize.
Right. And within,
As
like,
much as
trying to
we
be,
can.
we obviously want it to look good, so.
Sure.
Is there a motion?
I move that the addition to the main house be approved with bringing the front wall back 2 feet away from the corner to give that main building presence.
And if we can, like, approve with that contingency, I can have Blair at Dominion 7, you know, redraw something to show you the setback, and
Yeah,
we can represent it, but at least I know that I
yeah.
can
I guess
sort
I
of
think
use
you
this.
could
if it's that,
give it to
if it's
Eve.
that definitive, they could just go
Administratively.
with that.
Sorry.
So when you do that, if you submit that to Eve, she can administratively approve that, saying
Okay.
that it adheres to the motion that he's in the process of making.
Okay.
And motion to approve the barn as submitted.
I'll
Is there a
second.
second?
Sure, I'll second.
Now, I have to say, with getting these bids, sorry to tie up your time, but the barn, it may not end up being a 2-story thing, so I may have to resubmit something. It's complicated with commercial and 2 stories and fire ratings, and so the price of this, like, storage
Yeah.
building for us was astronomical, so we're gonna have to kind of rework some of that, but.
No, fair enough.
Yeah.
For clarity's sake, what the motion on the table is that we're about to vote on is for what you've presented, though. So if
Okay.
you do deviate substantial, if you take it to 1 story or something, then you would need to come back.
Yeah, so I think I'm already gonna be coming back, because that it sounds like, talking to Jamerson Lewis, that we're going to have to drop that down.
With shingles, yes. Yeah, if you don't have to come back with shingles would be appropriate.
Okay. All right, very good.
Any other comments, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Mr. Harris,
Thank you all very much for your time. Appreciate it.
The next item of old business is the request of Tony West of Across the Bridge LLC to install 4 front lights at 421 Rivermont. You would, for the record, tell us your name.
Yeah, my name's Casey Service. I'm with Architecture Design Office, representing Tony. Apologies, we miscommunicated and neither of us made it last month to answer your questions then. But my understanding is that the main question was the scale of this light versus the ones that were previously approved on the side.
Right, the size.
So these are 18 inches tall and the ones on the side are 11. So proportionally the same. So these are larger.
Any questions?
Sounds good to me.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve as submitted.
Second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right,
All right.
you have your lights.
I think
Okay, now
I'm
the
up here for
next.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a warm seat. The first item of new business is the request of Tony West of Across the Bridge LLC to paint 433 Rivermont.
Yeah, so this is listed in the state and federal district as a Queen Anne style house. And so going based off of the guidelines in the city's, in the Historic Preservation Commission's guidelines, that they typically wear bolder colors with deeper trim and some accent colors. So, and we're, it's slowly working our way. Skipping 429, we'll come back to that because it's a good staging space and more complicated. But working our way up the street and hoping to bring a little pop of color on this one and the next one.
It's gonna look like the Caribbean.
Yeah, look, and it's hard to get the colors on the picture of the house exactly right. So I think the swatches up at the top are a little bit more accurate and screen versus in person, but we felt like it was in keeping with the guidelines compared to
Yeah.
what's there now.
Healing white on
Yes.
healing white, on healing white, house after house after house.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, you're talking Queen Anne, right, Victorian, right, that's exactly it, they were painted ladies, right,
Yeah.
to use that phrase, and so I'm impressed with that you're looking at this, and I'm assuming each one of the houses will have
So they're-
different colors.
So the one that you can just see on the left is 429, and again, we'll come back to that, and that will, be in this same vein when we get there. The one right next door to the right is also a Queen Anne. And then I think it's the next two are Colonial Revival, so they'll be a little bit more muted, but trying to sort of blend it all so it looks better than white on white on white.
People are gonna notice.
People will notice, yes.
Is there a motion?
I'll make
Yeah.
a motion. I'll do this.
Just a quick point of discussion. I'll approve, we'll vote for the motion, but all the color you can.
Yeah.
Go, go, go. The only thing, I think the guidelines don't really speak to, but really Queen Anne's, a lot of times the window sashes would then be a different color.
Okay.
Either a darker tone of the trim. Or even a white like you have up
I
in the
think-
gable.
yeah, okay.
Just to make,
We can look at it,
It-
and yeah.
you typically see that on a Queen Anne,
Okay.
that the sashes pop a little
Yeah.
bit. I'd love to see, I'm gonna make the same comment on the next one. but-
Yeah, okay.
I mean, they put all this extra work in for you to see all that trim work, and blasting it all with
Yeah.
one lousy color doesn't do it.
Yeah,
so-
and it helps it pop a little bit.
Yeah,
So,
One more layer.
sounds good.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you, Mr. Serviceton. The next item is a request from Tony West of Across the Bridge LLC to paint and remove vinyl siding and a picket fence at 439 Riverline.
Yeah, so the picket fence in question is that
Mm.
little thing that's in this picture. It has already been removed, and we weren't planning on putting it back, and Eve brought up that it needs to be approved by you guys. There've been no sign of it being historic, it was just a little added on thing. There was some light blue vinyl siding on this house that was starting to come off, and Tony's has already started to take it off, and the wood siding is still there and in pretty good shape, all things considered. So that's that. And like we just talked about in the one next door, this is similar color, taking some of the cues from the other and moving on off the street.
Are those little finials in good shape?
I mean, it depends on what your definition of good shape
They don't
is.
look identical.
I haven't been up there to check myself, but I think they're in good enough shape that the roofer can do these repairs and just put those back. And if we need to, we'll find replicas and come back. But yeah, the goal is to keep them.
How is the house gonna be divided?
So all these houses were already subdivided into apartments. And so we are just sort of reconfiguring the existing apartments. They range from, I want to say 4 to like 8, depending on the house. Because the grade there is,
Yeah.
there's some basements that are still a story up above the ground on the backside. Yeah. So, yeah.
Is there a motion?
I move to approve as submitted, again with the point of making the sashes a secondary pop.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Okay, next, the request of Tony Bridge of Across the Bridge LLC to replace siding at 447 and 449 Rivermont.
Yeah, so Tony's been working his way up. This is the house number, this is like the 5th or 6th one, and this is the first one where we found that the wood siding is just absolutely shot.
What is cedar side, or not cedar, cement?
Like hardy panel, fiber cement siding.
Hardy plank?
Hardy plank, yes, hardy not panel, hardy plank. And so the proposal would be to come back in with the wood grain hardy plank to match the exposure, match all the trim board sizes. The windows we've submitted for administrative to approve them. The front windows are all actually in good shape, which is good because they have some pretty interesting mutton patterns, but some of the windows on the side we're gonna have to come back. But we didn't find that until after.
This one have
deadline.
hidden gutters
Yeah,
and the downspouts.
and you can see the downspouts
Put
coming down
something
there.
like that back, or are you going with like the aluminum rectangle, or?
Right now, we are, I don't know, I guess we're going
Aluminum
rectangle.
Yes.
to-
Is the hardy plank for all of it? You're
On this one, yes, on
everything?
all the wood is just, we might be able to scrap together, enough for a part of a side, but not a whole side, and then it's just,
In the same exposure?
we will put back the same exposure, yes, yes.
For clarity, like the half column there is that staying? Are you putting something like that back?
We'll build the columns back. The porches themselves are shot, so we'll redo the porch, but the
Yeah.
columns we can save
And
and put those back. We'll just have to do some picking.
We haven't submitted it yet, but there's one up the street, 455, where the porch was just falling down, and like, so all the porch columns are in the house right now. And so we'll, yes, it's all.
If you look at the back of it, you can see how much the water is rotted away, not that one, but that one.
Yeah, it's just,
National League.
and you can also see how tall the grate is there. Because those bottom windows are the basement.
Oh.
Here's a big thing, Casey, is if you're reusing the trim on the windows and doors, that hardy plank sometimes has a tendency to soak water in the end.
Make sure it's
So
primed.
Yeah, super in prime,
Yeah.
so it can butt into that trim.
Just out of curiosity, are you redoing these porches back here?
Yes, in kind, as, with, support to.
This is, who can say which one of these is the worst one? This is, I would drive by it constantly, so.
This is
the worst one probably.
This is
Always.
definitely in the running for the worst one.
And it's not saving you much money to take down everything and put on new stuff, is it?
No. No, because Tony said, the wood, when it's good, it's great. It's super hard. It's like, there's no reason to do it. We're doing everything we can to save it, but this one is just, it's done. It's lived its life.
Yeah.
I move to approve as submitted.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All
So-
those in favor?
I just have a quick question. So in the siding section of the guidelines, it says that you can consider the synthetic material for, like hardy plank for rear and side elevations. So can we approve it for the front?
I think we can.
I think we
Um,
have
this-
in the past.
Okay.
When it's
Particularly
beyond repair.
matching the profile.
Right.
Exposure.
Okay, just want to make sure.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you.
Is that our last one?
Yeah.
That is.
441, 440.
That was administratively.
Oh, that was done?
We're good. Thank you all.
Oh,
Thank
thank you.
Again, applaud all you're doing to
Yeah, thank you.
restore it.
Congratulations. It'll look great.
More color.
We'll do as much as we can.
Sorry.
Okay, next item is the request of Corey Schrader to replace windows and siding at 603 Cabell.
He did let me know that he had something come up, so he might be late, or he might not be able to make it at all. So I don't know if you want to move it to the end in case he can come to the meeting.
Is there any objection to moving it?
Can we talk about it without them being here or not?
We can, but let's wait until
Okay.
till we see if he gets here. And, all right, so we will go on to the request of Sean Spencer Hester to construct a gazebo at 1313 Pierce Street.
Hello, everybody.
Good afternoon.
When you say vote, I almost want to,
I know, Sean is right down there on my right. Welcome.
nice to see the whole panel.
Tell us what you'd like
Thank
to
you.
do.
I'm here today proposing a pergola, pretty much in the same place originally where there was a three-car garage. And when the house was made a historic landmark, the garage had already been knocked down in the 60s. And Al Chambers was involved in the restoration. And through the Department of Interior, thought that doing the brick pad that we have today would be a great way to interpret where the garage was. And throughout the years, the board has talked about, and even with the garden club, about rebuilding the garage, but we always hesitated because we didn't want to obstruct the view of Eden Crawl, although the original garage did. But for us, that was important. And so we started looking at just building the bones of the garage to give you a sense of what was there. And then with that, the need of having a covered space for visitors to the garage and to the garden and also to the museum. And the placement of where the pergola will be placed at the garage will also serve as a covered entrance into the main gate going into the garden. It's a prefabricated pergola. I've sent you the specs on that. And we like particularly this one, that it was metal, but it still gave you that, the wood look. And that it has high wind rating, and that we can leave it out there all year long.
So this is mounted to the brick, is that right?
Yeah,
Or
there will most likely have to be a footing. We'll talk to the building inspector to see what type of footing. A portion of it's 12 foot by 24. The narrow side you're seeing here to the left will actually be off the brick and be, so we'll have to pour a brick foot, concrete footings for those two anyway. But more than likely, we will have to take up the brick and pour a footing. And there's anchor bolts that come with this package. And I had hoped to bring you a sample, but everything was so big to even bring you a sample of it.
So Sean, this is bigger than the footprint of the former garage?
No, it's smaller.
It's just a deck, you see the red line, right, is that where it's going to be, so it's.
Yeah, so we'll be, yeah, you can see kind of a diagram there, kind of where I was talking about where it's gonna be offset. And then off to, on the bottom, where you have the marker there, Eve, that is actually kind of like a French drain, a drain. So we didn't want to build on top of that, so we just kind of brought it over so we could still have the flow of the driveway runoff.
If you could push it upward so that the bottom edge where the red line is across that drain, John, if you went on the other side, so it all sat on top of the brick?
Well, so we have a neighbor next door, and our property lines, her property line is right at the edge of that brick pad, so we have to
Set back?
Set back?
we have to
Okay.
set back, yeah. And it is just over, Eve sent me a note, it is just over the square footage, so we will have to get a building permit to construct it.
Questions or comments?
Looks great.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve this.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Thank you so much. Have you over to come and take a sit.
Yes.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Okay, next is a request of Brandy and Rebecca Wood to remove the fence and construct a pad at 419 Washington Street. Okay,
Hello.
you'll tell us your name and address.
I'm Randy Woods. I live at 419 Washington Street. We've been there for about 3.5 years or so. So it's really just two pieces for this. The back fence, as you can see here, was put in the sometime in the 80s. So it's not historical. Originally had a iron fence in there. There was a higher wood privacy fence up to the 80s, somewhere in between there. Goal eventually is to replace this and take it back to the iron fence, but we have some other priorities right now, like keeping water out of the house. So goal right now with it just falling down is just remove the fence for now, and then we'll come back with other requests as we get closer to actually putting in a more original one. And then the second piece, so you can see right here, so this bottom section here kind of slopes down and away. I want to just put in a small gravel pad for my grill right there. Long-term goal is to take this bottom part and take the brick that you see here and have that step down and then bring out to a like a little patio down on that side. We're several years out from being ready to do that, so this is really a shorter term, over the next 3 to 5 years. So I've got a place for the grill that's away from the wood house and stuff. There's a half wall there and then a step down, so it's even recessed from there. So it's hidden down behind that wall where you see the bench right there. So not visible from the street or anything. And also takes my grill and takes it down a little bit, not fully hidden from the street, but a little bit more.
Did you do any work on the garage, or was that in fairly good shape?
The garage, fairly good shape. We've had it for about 3.5 years. Prior owner had it for a couple of years and had redone, put in the new windows and did the doors, so that's in much better shape. I've done some of that stuff. Most of my work over the last couple of years have been focused on rehabbing the apartment that's in the basement. And now finally done, a 6-month project that took 2 years, so that was fun. So now I'm starting to move towards some of the outside and starting to kind of build that.
I'm sure your neighbors were very happy to see you move in. That house was in need of help.
The nice thing is Victoria, in between Gretchen and us, she did a lot of that external stuff that would have been too big for us to do. We love this house. It's just an absolutely amazing house. And so we're feel very blessed to be stewards for this place. And as I said, we've got 30 years worth of projects. So I'm Randy. You'll see me over the next bit.
Nobody's gonna miss that fence.
I figured, but I want to make sure we go through the process the right way.
Yeah, we
And thank you
appreciate
for
that.
that.
Yes.
I love your chandeliers at Christmas.
Oh, thank you. We had so much fun. We and as some, we'd love to have people in at some point. We also have so about 6 months after we got here, we were replacing some of the lights inside, and we found a church close by that was selling all of their chandeliers. And so we picked up 12 chandeliers and about 10 wall sconces, candelabra wall sconces for about $1,000. And in our dining room, we've got one that it hangs down about 5 feet and it's about 6 feet across. 6 feet across.
Wow.
Made by chandelier company that was here in Lynchburg that's no longer here.
That's so cool.
And so then we had all of these extra ones, and I went, well, what should we do with those? And we thought, hey, we'll create some. We have 4 for Halloween and 4 for Christmas, and figure that's a fun little decoration to have.
That's really cool.
So,
That's great. So, go back to the matter.
Yes.
Okay,
Sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve as submitted.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
So my only thought or thoughts was with the gravel pad, did you consider doing like a paver block or something that would even be flat or less susceptible to being uneven?
Yeah. So, so the only thing that I was wanting to do is keep it fairly temporary, in that the plan is only to have it there for the next 3 years or so, before we're ready to actually do something more serious. So I hadn't planned to do a full paver. I was considering doing maybe a couple flat blocks underneath the actual
Grill, the legs or whatever?
yeah, the wheels to keep it there, but hadn't really been wanting to do something much more extensive just because I need to be able to tear it down when we get to that point as well.
I guess, it's itty bitty.
It's hidden
And
and
it's
small.
hidden. I
Right.
mean, and the question is gravel is a non,
Typically a no-no,
Yeah.
Oh,
but
yeah,
you're out
sorry.
of sight. And
but like river rock or something, it's not gravel that you see on the highway, on the
Yeah.
side of the road. Something that's a little nicer even if you buy a bag of that at Lowe's.
It may even be the stone that you have, that's a larger stone, right? Around the area?
Where are we looking at?
That's gravel.
Not bad.
Yeah, this is gravel, so I've got this pile sitting in my driveway right now from when we were doing the apartment. We had one room we had to pour a whole new slab for, which was fun. So I'll use this probably as part of the base one way or another. If I need to
If
do
you could
something
top
different.
it with something that's a little prettier.
Yeah, sure.
Like
is
a
the-
brown
yeah.
river rock?
Yeah, I've seen that around quite a bit. So, sure.
Cool.
All right, are we ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's a cool
Okay,
thing with all
our
the
next
chandeliers
item
on the
is,
front porch.
I haven't haven't seen it.
Oh,
The
that was
request
cool.
of
But that
Dr.
sounds-
Roderick Sampson of Ionic Investments.
Ionic, there's a story to that, but.
Okay, 302.
Hello, my name's Rod Sampson. We bought 302 Washington Street. It took us 6 months to get it, 4 mortgages, and we ended up with a 12% high interest mortgage company at the moment for 3 months through my wife's real estate company for her physical therapy practice. So we're trying to get this done as quick as possible, and I'm doing it all myself. And the house, I don't know if you're probably all aware of 302 Washington, top of church in Washington. It's been vacant for 20 years. The lady that bought it sat on it and didn't do anything with it. And it was a nursing home. We're turning it into our second home. We fell in love with Lynchburg, and we live in Virginia Beach. And we want to live in it. We don't want it to be chopped up. We don't want it to be anything like it is. And we want to put the railings back on the second floor. We want the widow's walk. We want it all back. And the house, we were looking at, when we came, we were looking at buying another property in Madison Street. And I went into this one, and I was bouncing up and down the floors, banging the walls. And despite it was vacant for 20 years, and the paint was hanging this far off the ceiling, it's in remarkable shape. You know, so the previous owner let me rent it, and then I was fixing it up to try and get it to be able to qualify for a mortgage. So we did 3 companies passed on it, and then the 4th one's an investment one, and we're hoping to hopefully refinance in May or June sort of time. So there's a couple of things that we need to achieve. We're having the house rewired at the moment. This is from when it was the nursing home, and this is Raccoon Central, this is. I stay there at the moment, and you can just hear them coming up at the night time, and then I go out and it's frightened the life out of me, because I'm thinking ghost nursing homes. I'm shining them a torch and stuff, and then there's all the light, all the eyes and stuff. So they come up, they walk around the hidden gutters, they eat all the nuts from the tree, and then they go down. They used to get in, but we've blocked all that off now. So this was when the nursing home was there. It's completely abandoned. There's a window up there, and it's the dormer is all the sash windows. All the parts are still there, and I've got the sashes, and then there's steps up to it on the inside. I can provide that if needed. So it's a real, just cobbled together fire escape from whenever this was done, the 50s and 60s. So we'd like to. We're getting it. The whole house rewired. They want to put the service close to where the fire escape is, and obviously it's an eyesore, and it's such a prominent position. We'd really love to take down the fire escape and put back in the old window. And then obviously paints, and there's all this. The back addition is I'll be here again for that one, but yeah. So that's the fire escape. It's not historic, I don't think. So it's just
Actually,
I think it would look nice with the.
Maybe
it's
on
more than
Sunday.
50 years old in theory. It is.
But I just want it because I want to do the bloody raccoons. So it's. But anyway, so yeah, so that's that one, and then the other one that we're doing this time is. I'm learning so much about the way cities work, and I know Lynchburg's got the oldest sewer system in one of the cities in America, and everyone tells me a little bit of information about the house every time I see them, and I've got these downspouts, these plastic things on the downspouts that divert the water away, and I was told that so I had to build this because the basement was 2 inches full of water when we got the house, so we just pushed the water away. I've got to redo the grading and all that sort of stuff. I'm going to lower the driveway so that the water runs away from the house. Again, we'll come back and do that. But right now, I just need to sort this out and do something with it. And my understanding was that the city paid people to put cement down the gutters, down the downspouts to block everything up. So what do we do? That's my question. So what we want to do is just dig it out and then just put the catches in and just run plastic pipe to the backyard, and then just put a collection thing, because I don't think I can tap back into the gutters. To do that, there's a stoop on the back there, and you can see where the siding is there. That's obviously from the 60s. It's aluminium siding, so it's not original. And the first step is 12 inches, and then it's 6 and 6 and 6. So I need to go under that stoop. So what I was hoping to do was to take out the siding there, and that was an open porch originally, and we would want to match the railings from the front and do it like that, so that the railings match, and then the pad is in that little window there is where the old pad came down, and then recreate what was there originally, so that it's an open. We don't care about square footage or anything like that. We just want it back original. All the lintels are there, the original iron lintels and everything. So we just want to put that back, match the railings, and then the back door would be hidden there, and you have a little mini porch, and then we can I can park my car down the backyard, because where that thing is, you can't get your car past it very easily, and then we can fix the drains and fix the gutters. And the next time I'll be in front of you is the water runs down the side of the house, and it turns and then goes towards Church Street, and the addition is coming away from the house because the water is just sogging the ground, and it's just running, and it's been doing that for 20 years because nobody's lived there for 20 years. So, but the foundation for the house is 100%, but it's the addition is the problem. I haven't got a picture of the back. It's this thing with the white on. It's just pulling away ever so slightly. So I've got to, and the gutter's shot, so all the header pieces have rotted. So we're jacking the basement up. We're going to redo the header and get it all back up. And then what we'd like to do eventually is open up that other porch as well. But I need to figure out how much it's going to cost first. So, but I'm not going to propose that yet. So 2 things. One was to remove the fire escape, and the other one was to look at putting the drains back in and opening that back porch to allow for the drainage.
Props,
Yeah.
big props.
Yeah.
You got a diamond in the rough, though. I've been
Yeah,
there.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful house.
It's going to be interesting. We were quoted more than the purchase price of the house to replace the roof, so I've got to figure something out for that. But my first job I had when I was 12 was repairing sash windows in the UK, doing the putty and redoing the things, so I know all about all that stuff. Now I was doing the plastering, so I do the plaster myself. We've got the stairway bolted over, and we're redoing all the drywall. It's an interesting project, but it's not. We want it to be original, and we want to enjoy it, and we want it just to shine. So we don't want to chop it up. We don't want to have apartments.
That'll be stunning.
I think it's about 6,000. Yeah, and then we haven't finished the basement, and the attic is all little rooms, so we've demolished a lot of that, and we're hopefully going to make that something. We're not quite sure yet what we're going to do, but it's got, the view is spectacular. You know, it's from down the river. It's really lovely. And then it's the front porch as well is one of the widest porches apparently. So it's too springy at the moment, so I've got to do some other things for that. And then, but yeah, it's in good shape. It's in good shape, but it needs a lot of stuff to get it back before it will be qualified for a mortgage. So we're trying to.
Sounds like it's in the right hands. So.
Props to you. I make a motion to approve. It's submitted.
Second. Absolutely.
Any more
Go, go,
discussion?
go.
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Well, we look forward to seeing you again.
You'll see me probably every month now.
That's okay, we'll be here.
All right, appreciate your time. Thank you.
Do you mind if people wander around your yard looking at the house? Do you mind if maybe someone wanders around your yard looking at the house?
No, what we're going to, I'm joining the Historic Society, so what we'd like to do is to do an open house.
That would be
Yes.
wonderful. I think the people would love that.
Yeah.
I'll tell the community if you want to do that. You do it through the diamond.
Before and after.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be great.
Thank
you.
Right. Okay, the next action item is a request of Laura Indiana.
Right.
Yeah, it's really.
That'd be
Pictures
great.
were.
Unit 10. Welcome back.
But it was fast. You got the first one built already?
Actually, the one we're presenting today would be the first, because we would get boxed in construction-wise if we do Lot 11, so we really need to build this one first. So thank you again. My name's Lauren Dionish, 1312 Jefferson Street. I'm the architect and part owner of the, architect from Atelier 11 and part owner of the property as well. So this is lot 10. And previously we spoke of 11. So this one faces the community green space. And a lot of how we design is to make sure the interior gets really nice views out into what's going to be the community space. So you'll notice on the elevations facing that, the left side elevation, which is kind of the southwest, which is the lower left elevation, I'll just stay up there. There are more windows facing that, so that they take in the long views diagonally up the property as well. And every house is designed so that this faces lot 10. So lot 10 has a window that is like right between here, and so no windows look into each other. We're trying to be very careful about that. And so this one has fewer windows on the side of the south of the east. The main elements of the house are shown on the street elevation facing Hancock. And I do want to point out that this is a very unique site because the street elevation, when you walk, the ground is about at this level. So when we plant even just normal 3-foot bushes, which will probably grow 3 to 4 feet, it's going to be up to here. So when you're driving by in a car, you are really just looking at greenery and the bank. But you can certainly see this from the bridge diagonally. So we want this to be a very attractive house. Its main feature is a hip roof, which you see quite often in historic districts, especially Capitol Street, Daniels Hill area. And then we have a modern interpretation of a tower, cleaner, simpler, just a 4-inch trim on the sides, very kind of handsome, not terribly decorative details, but some nice details to make it have contrast. It has K-style gutters at the top that will be white. It has a bandboard trim, frieze all around the building, and most new houses do not have that. They also don't have the heavier trim on the windows when we have multiple windows. So we've got the heavier trim at the top that's more of 9-inch trim. Back to the front, there's a interesting little walkway balcony that faces the front, and this is a front door that's a single sash door with 2 side lights, and then we have 2 brackets that support a hood over the front door, and that will have a metal roof on it. Metal roof, we don't know if it's going to be a painted color finish yet, or copper. We usually like copper, so I'll go on record that it's copper, and if we decide to change it, we'll ask permission. And then this would be a copper window box up here, and that will have succulents like sedum planted in it so that it doesn't have to have much maintenance. The siding is a hardy board lap siding. All of the trims are board trims, so there's no vinyl trims and no J-channel. Get that. The windows will be in a contrasting color. There'll be black sashes. I know last time I said I don't always like black sashes, but these windows are just single 1/1 lights, and we feel like with the sky blue siding color, the white trim, and the black sashes, it'll be very handsome looking. The other black accent on the building will be, of course, the roof is going to be black shingle, and then the garage, it's just a single garage door. And we have the interior laid out that if I had a little matchbox car, oh, sorry, can we go back? Sorry. This is the floor plan of the front showing the tower, and that you can pull one car in diagonally and then the other car in. So single door will serve 2 cars. To try to do our best to conceal the fact that everyone needs a garage, and this is a site that faces Hancock and doesn't have any side streets, we've done a nice, most people are entering from here, from the bridge, so we've done a curved drive to go in, so that brings the shrubs out in front of the door, almost completely concealing the door. Additionally, this walkway above with just square pickets, white painted wood, creates a shadow line on this garage because it sits 4 feet out. So it recedes the garage door as opposed to the garage being the foremost thing. Additionally, the tower helps take your eye more to that and your eye more to the hood that you see on the side here. So I think more attention is going to go there. And just as I said, that the shrubs right in front of the house will be approximately 8 feet. They'll be the same over here. So when you're driving down the street, you don't really see that. You see, diagonally looking up, you're going to start to see the house more from here upwards. So we feel like it's a good way to conceal it. We didn't do double garage doors, which would be a little easier for people, but we wanted to make sure we made this look good. There's also 2 brick pavers. This will all be brick here. So very, nicely detailed as opposed to just asphalt, which is not allowed. And then there's a strip of brick pavers here so that a second car, if they have guests or something, there's some extra room there. But instead of doing all brick and calling attention to it, it has grass in between, similar to the previous applicant here on Pierce Street at the Ann Spencer house. They have the 2 brick entry things that really help it look more garden-like as opposed to a lot of pavement. On this eastern side, as I said, it's facing the other neighbors, so the other neighbor's house is really right here. So you don't see as much of that, but we still want nice light in the house. We have a decent number of windows. Obviously, on the southwest side, that's where we've focused a lot of windows, and then on the front, the ratio of window to wall is quite great, and that's where, a lot of times when people try to do work in historic areas, they use modern-sized windows on this kind of Victorian-looking house, and they're too small, so this is more in line with the proportion, with a large proportion of windows. These are all 6-foot-high windows and 3-foot wide. Then, 3 plus 3, so 6 by 6. The bottom portion of the tower is stucco, and then on the rear side, this is some window facing out again to the view. And this is fairly close to the back lot, really just about 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, about 12 feet from the back lot line. So there'll be shrubs here. So it's not a facade that anyone really sees because you can't see it from any of the streets, but it still has a nice screen porch here. And that screen porch wraps around to this side. And again, this side is facing that community lot, so we did more of the openings and the porch here. We're also being very careful to stagger where people spend time. On the neighboring lot, 11, there is a front porch, and we're doing this porch on the back. So it helps that if someone's playing music or something, they're on the opposite side of the house, so that, we're trying to make it so that as neighborly as possible, so that people really enjoy living there. And when we come back, hopefully next month, because I drew all weekend, so I'm almost ready to present this. This focuses on this side yard. We've actually reoriented this a little differently to be a little more pleasing and take advantage of the pretty yard there. So materials, as I mentioned, it's going to be white trim, and any of the columns, like on the porches, will be white. The siding is palatial skies. This looks a little brighter than what I really think is on this house, but I just haven't had a chance to knock on their door and ask them if I can put some color samples up. This is on Rivermont, and it's just a very nice sky blue. So it could be a shade or two lighter, so if it's any different, I figure if you're okay with that, if it's a little lighter, it might be okay, so then we would do an administrative request to tone that down some. Because we really it looks really nice on that house. And then this is the style of door. It's just a simple carriage style door. Now we don't have 3, we only got 1. But we have this style door with what looks to be a true divided light glass in the top. So that when people do come around that curve, entering the house and entering the parking area, it's got some nice detail that ties in with the front door and other features. Any questions on the house?
I zoomed in, I'm familiar with the house you're showing there for color. I like the
Oh, okay.
color on that house.
Yeah, it's a great color.
She used to serve on this
Oh, neat.
commission with us. For my own clarity, it might just be education. I'm on page 4, under windows, it says, ply gem mirror windows, eagle windows with 1 1/4 inch simulated divided light grills. Is that the panels that?
So that would be the actual grills in the windows. If this is the double hung window and the top sash,
Right.
they're saying that if you're doing the simulated divided light, it would be these. So on this particular house, we're doing more like what you see in 1910 Victorian as opposed to 1890. We're doing single glass as opposed to divided lights.
Right, I caught you said 1/1,
Yeah.
and then I saw this, and so I
Right.
was
Yeah, so
not tracking.
I grew up in a historic neighborhood, and it was really interesting. Our house was I think they called it like a workman's vernacular. It's like a lot of houses in Lynchburg, not super fancy. And it all had 1/1s in it, and I liked it better because of the view. The next one, when we present lot 12, it's got grills, and so it'll be, one of those brands. But in this case, it would still be a ply gem Mira window. That's what we like to go on record for. We may, if we can afford it, we're going to upgrade to Marvin. We just don't think. We may not be able to afford it, so we don't want to promise too much. So, but if we can, once we do all the numbers, we'll upgrade the window package. But we will do a ply gem Mira. But yeah, this is one that doesn't have divided lights. So it is more like the 1910 to 19. Basically, as soon as they could make the windows with bigger panes of glass, I think they switched to that. Or it was an economic thing. It's hard to say. But there's a lot of examples of it. So this one, that's how. And we felt like it had enough that we didn't feel like it needed to be gussied up more. And I should have mentioned, we do have this really pretty custom trellis down here. And what's behind that is the trash cans. And we haven't designed that on the next door neighbor. We've got to figure that out. But there will be trash enclosure for everything that's nicely designed. That's the one thing that bums me out so much is you try to get everything all right, and then it's like everyone's trash cans are hanging out. So it's a pet peeve. Spend more time in Switzerland. They don't allow that stuff.
Thank you for helping me understand.
Yeah.
So I think we're fine on this one, and I can't obviously speak for all of us, but we did have issues with windows that had artificial divided grills previously. Just putting that on the table, that when you look at those, you might consider all the options.
You mean of adding grills to it? Or?
Of the artificial grills. Am I phrasing that right? Yeah.
So
The grills that are between two panes.
Oh, we never use those.
Okay.
We only use.
Again, maybe it's probably just education on my part in knowing what I'm.
So simulated light means they're on the surface, not in between.
Correct.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So the simulated divided light, the nice part is when you cut the window and here's your glass, they've got it on this side and they've got it on this side and then they have a little spacer. So it looks to be like a traditional one. The one you're speaking of that would be artificial would be between the
Two panes.
And it's just, after growing up in that historic district, it's either real, ones that look as real as possible or none. So we won't do any between the panes in this development.
Great, thank you.
The only thing I'm anxious about is the garage door in the front. All the other lots look like there either is no garage and you park up beside or behind the house,
Four on
Or
the
the
sides,
garage
yeah.
is inside,
Yeah.
from the side,
Right,
and this one is to the front.
yeah.
And the guidelines, I mean, if you go to new construction, the guidelines say,
Yeah.
no garage doors on the front. Because, I mean, let's face it, we've all
Yeah.
driven the suburbs, and
Right.
the garage door is the prominent thing. And I love that
Yeah.
you've worked nicely in that, but I just want to,
Yeah.
I'm anxious about somebody coming in later and saying, oh, you approved a garage door in the front of the house. I'm doing it too, but it's, it's a
Yes.
McMansion kind of thing.
I guess the one area where we feel this, and why we don't have it on any of the others,
Yeah.
is that on this one, because of the high bank, it's so concealed that the true, grade level of this property is up here.
Yeah.
So the fact that this is so concealed, now we did attempt to submit a gate on the front, but we were too high, and so we took the gate off. And honestly, the gates are really expensive and hard for homeowners to use, so I wasn't super nuts about putting the gate in. So I just feel like it's from the driver's perspective, it's truly not visible, like absolutely not. You'd have to be like,
Yeah. It's,
and then you're gone.
I like,
So,
the
both sides.
porch overhangs, it's recessed a
Yeah.
little bit, it's tucked in. I think it's done very well. Just from the pure guideline standpoint, it's a no-no. I just want to throw that.
Well, and if you see those where they protrude forward, I call it ASS forward garage.
Yes.
I don't really like that at all.
Yeah, that's what I immediately
So-
went to all the other houses, and everything
Right.
else on your site plan,
Yeah.
they are tucked.
Yeah.
I've heard the guidelines aren't laws.
Well, I guess if we were
You
to, so I guess what I would say to, because it could come up and someone else could justifiably be approved for it. So what I would say on this particular application is, one, it's recessed a little bit back from the front. It's 4 feet recessed, so that's part 2. Part 3 is the existing grade is substantially concealing it to a height of 5 foot, then 8 feet with shrubs. And there is a sufficient amount of trim and focus on the house that takes the eye away from it. So I think those 4 points, or 5, whatever they are, would be why I think this particular instance is reasonably acceptable. Plus, it's a pretty door. I went to the shop, it's a really good-looking door. So it looks like a carriage house.
I can't imagine anyone being more hesitant and too high that, and working with the bizarre topography of Lynchburg, like least likely place to ever put a city in some ways because of that.
I don't know on a primary dwelling.
Will you remind me with the association or guidelines for this community, you've obviously taken all this effort to disguise with the shrubbery. What would be, like, who is in charge of it after, like, if a homeowner's like, oh, like zooms them down
So
to
there
continue
will,
to?
I think we're required by law, plus we would want to do it anyway, is that the grounds, even though no one's it's not like a condo association, but it is a homeowners association. And our experience with this has been in one that we worked with in a modestly priced neighborhood where we were like the architect of record to, answer any questions that the homeowners had if they got in a brouhaha. And then even in a high-end one, those people really seem to take their job seriously, and there is a one blanket coverage for all lot maintenance for the entire neighborhood is covered.
I thought I remembered you saying that.
Because we're going to, there'll be, rules they are not allowed to remove or add shrubs without approval, because we've known some people that kind of think it's funny not to mow their lawn or to grow
Yeah, my next door neighbor.
things that would be disturbing to the neighbors or something. So
we don't have to
there will
have
be some protection.
concern about losing that,
Right.
that built in.
And I just want to make sure it's always mowed, always looks nice, so that it speaks nicely for people entering Daniels Hill.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments?
Do you have
concerns?
anything that shows the grade? I'm trying on Google Maps to see the
I
grade,
have
like
a
if you're on
topography.
Hancock Street or something?
Yeah, I have a topography map here that was made by our engineer. So- So, at
She's
this
got it up
site.
here.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
so,
that's it.
right, and then at this site, we're going from 647, and then our building is at 654, so that's 7 feet up. It's actually, it's funny, in real life, it's a little more exaggerated than this, but this, this doesn't lie, this is the topo, so from the street to the building site is actually 7 feet to first floor. And then and then it's like 1.5 feet down, so it's about 5.5 feet at that point. It's great, I've always liked it, and what I like is that when you sit on your porch, you have control over the street. In that same historic district where we lived, there were matching houses on either side. I never really picked up, they were different colors. One was on grade and one was on a hill, and it looked majestic, and the one on grade looked kind of wimpy, and it was funny, exact same house. Yeah.
I was
So,
just trying to get perception on how visible a garage would be walking by. That's all I was.
yeah, we didn't finish it all the way. We started a like a 3D view of it, and they really are kind of up there. They're not, but I don't think I think we took it further than, it was more of just a tool for us.
Eve, I know that asphalt shingles are permitted on garages or ancillary buildings. Is there a hard and fast no on the primary dwelling?
I'm not seeing anything in the guidelines that's a specific rule. There is a note under one of the pictures that says
Most of the
it's
guidelines-
compatible with adjacent historic dwellings through its roof form, pitch, materials, and et cetera. So materials, adjacent historic dwellings there's quite a bit of,
Variety?
there's variety. I mean, I know
But
we
it's not
approved metal
asphalt.
for the
Right.
new one, but
Right.
yeah, there's a lot of,
I'm quite sure there's not a
Slate,
requirement
so.
for slate or metal, because then it'd be very difficult to move forward.
So no one would
yeah,
build
that's
it.
what I'm,
Well, they haven't. I'm not saying that's why, but I can't
yeah,
think of
just wanted to
any
make sure that there wasn't something I was
that wasn't a
overlooking.
garage or a shed or an ancillary building.
I don't think there's anything specifically calling that out.
Something that your application was were there ever buildings there before?
Yeah,
I have to
back,
imagine there were.
back in the day, I think it was a fire.
Yeah.
Fires.
It's strangely empty there where you would think there would
Yeah,
have been
yeah,
structures.
there were several fires, sadly. Easier to renovate.
This black shingle was proposed?
Yes.
Correct.
Other questions, comments? I think that if we approve, there should be some language added to say why we approved a garage in the front, or that this is an exception, so that in 10 years,
Precedent for another one.
Somebody doesn't say, well, you did that for them. That's just my concern.
Well, we are covered by the non-precedent. Every project is an individual project.
I agree, but I would like to have it in the minutes.
I think-
We've had occasion to go back to the minutes to see if there was a reason that an exception was made. So it doesn't have to be in the motion. Do I hear a motion?
Could I just, one more thought on that? She presented, I think, 4 points about why, and maybe those
Yeah.
could be the.
I mean, they were already, well, in the discussion, so there would be in the minutes. Does that need to be clearer than that, Eve? I mean, you said, it's the grade, the bushes, the overhang, I mean, all those things were covered. So we do have that in the minutes that would then, if someone said, I want a garage, it just pops out because you did this. I think we have that.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move to approve as submitted.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, further discussion? All those in favor say
Oh.
aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Did you have further discussion?
No, I was going to just say I should recant my prior statement that this looks like Windhurst or Cornerstone. This
house
looks
looks a
much
lot better.
different than what I've seen previously.
This design is highly encouraged, I think.
Right, yeah, maybe it's just my eyes, but to my eyes, this looks much nicer than what I'd seen previously. My personal issue is the garage and something that's already been overcome with the density of the subdivision, but that's all I have. This is much nicer though.
Great. Okay, once again, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. All right. We'll see you next month.
Thank you. Hopefully so.
Now, we go back to the request of Corey Schrader, and he obviously isn't here. So is there a wish to discuss it or to postpone it, to table it?
Which number was it?
It's number
Oh, I see.
5,
D.
I think.
On campus,
Four.
Yeah, discuss it. I think we can discuss it.
Okay.
I mean, the aluminum clad, I mean, obviously you see these windows, these are aluminum clad windows, not for vinyl. So it seems to me pretty.
Windows seem appropriate.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, my gosh.
Yeah, it's really incredible.
But at the same time, he's asking for board and batten on the back.
Yeah, so he did get administrative approval to remove the Vertex siding that was over the wood siding. And then he found out that he didn't have enough of the wood siding that was in good shape, so he wants to remove the wood siding from that bump out to use on the front and sides to replace beyond repair, and put the board and batten on the bump out.
It just, it would have never been there. That board and batten would not have been on this house. I don't believe.
No.
Yeah, I don't either.
Any hardy plank that we have seen earlier, it would be appropriate at the same exposure. But board and batten on this house is just inappropriate, even on the back where we can't see it.
Well, it's on a corner, so you will see it.
Yeah, it's, I would be happy to support repairing with that wood on the side and front, but that bump out, as opposed to board and batten, it should be a lap siding.
Yeah.
And I'm like you, windows seem fine. They seem appropriate for what we have. I mean, he's got a viable argument that the windows are not repairable. I mean, I like to see that. So I'm good with those. Vinyl clad, the aluminum clad are called out in the guidelines, so that makes sense. But if people, I don't know, we can make a motion that we agree with his process for reusing siding to repair sides and front, but that rear appendage can be.
So he already has administrative approval to replace in kind on the bump out, but then he wanted to apply for this as his alternative.
Well, I mean, administrative approval with the lap siding would, I'm.
Is this siding the original siding?
I
Or is
think-
this what he replaced?
No, I think, so the brick text, the like fake brick was on top of the wood siding.
Right,
But
but
I
I
think
mean,
it,
is the exposed wooden siding the original?
yeah, I think so.
So do we need then to deny this request?
Yeah, if you see no reason that you would approve it, like no reason to table it until he could be here, then yeah, I guess you would deny it.
And then could you tell him that you could approve hardy board?
Well, if you wanted to do a different material, I mean, if you want to put that in the motion.
Yeah,
let's do
I'll
that.
make a motion to approve the windows as submitted, and approve the reapplication of rear siding to repair side and front walls in kind, but deny the board and batten on the rear appendage. But if he would use a hardy plank-like material on that rear appendage with the same exposure as the original boards, that could be approved administratively without having to come back for a subsequent COA.
There's
that
a
long enough?
second, that's a long one. It makes
That
sense.
was exactly it. That's it.
Is that,
Yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Just so much work.
Okay.
That looks like one with the two-tier basement too, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge house, so.
With the basement and the cellar.
Anybody have any comments? I want to say that thank you all who came on Tuesday night, and I thought that we had a great victory, and I was very impressed with our mayor's comments about saying it's not about windows, it's about following the rules. And she has 4 children, so I guess she has a lot of experience with rules.
She knows about
But
it.
I was very heartened at getting the votes, the 5 votes that we got, and I hope that sends a message to other people who might want to ask for forgiveness instead of permission.
She went to even the next level about the ethics of this.
Yeah.
That we apply rules to people all the time. Now someone wants an exception. You can't just reverse because, for whatever reason, there's sort of ethics behind this as well. So I appreciated that as well, very much.
And I also appreciated the fact that Councilman Helgeson had gone there.
Yes.
And talked to a neighbor, and was aware of the neighbor's position, but I wrote him a note and thanked him for that because
The
he
neighbor
took
lives
the
in my
time.
prior house, so
Oh,
I was
okay.
familiar with the view. I
Yeah.
don't know what route he took to get there. From Fifth Street, there's only one house with a placard on it or boarded
Ah.
up, like he said, but
Yeah.
he might have gone a different route.
Okay.
But I think it was very appropriate for you to acknowledge that you drove over there and talked to people and looked at that.
Yeah, I appreciated that. So told him we didn't agree, but.
And there's, I mean, that's off the record, but there's lots of homes that aren't in historic districts that are beautiful, that you can live in if you don't want to follow the rules. Like he lives in, he says he lives in one that's 1920. Well, it's not in a historic district, so, I mean, there's other ways to do it too, is all I'm saying.
Anybody else?
You're here.
All right, we're adjourned.